Fex was walking along with the top platform slowly. His usual neatly swept-back black hair was now a complete mess. The stress of everything was getting to him, and he felt like pulling his hair out. It more than felt like it. There were times while walking when he had pulled out small parts of his hair from his head. Nothing noticeable, but he didn't even realize he had been doing it. He needed everything to go perfectly and still felt relieved that his sister had agreed into letting him do everything on his own. The only problem was that he had a time limit. He needed to finish everything by tonight, to pull everything off that he had planned. He needed some help. He couldn't do this alone. Eventually, Fex arrived at the small little coffee shop where the others were sitting outside. It was an hour later than they had planned, but it was still only 7 p.m., plenty of time for the rest of the evening. Sunrise was the time limit. "Hey, is everything okay with you?" Quinn asked, seeing the mess that Fex's hair was in. He had been acting strange all day, and now his appearance was on top of this. Something must have been wrong, and now with the event over, he could ask. With an awkward smile, Fex approached Quinn and started to whisper in his ear. "Do you mind if you and I can talk for private for a second? I have something important I want to talk to you about," Fex whispered. Hearing this, Quinn's heart started to beat, and slight butterflies were felt in his stomach. If it was something that Fex only wanted him to hear about, then it had to be something to do with vampire business. The two boys left the group at the table and walked off slightly to the side. There was no one around them to listen in on their conversation, and they could now talk freely. "So what is it?" Quinn asked. "Did something happen?" Fex went to fix his hair up and had a nervous look on his face. He never was a good liar, and today he had to put the performance of his life on. The only problem was he had to do it more than once. "Quinn, you're going to hate me for this." Fex placed his hand on top of Quinn's shoulder and looked to the floor before lifting his head and looking Quinn in the eye. "This was it? Have the vampires come to get Fex? Do the military know about me? What is it?" Quinn thought nervously. His palms were now sweating, and he just wanted Fex to blurt it out as the tension was killing him. "I'm in love with Layla." "What?" Quinn shouted out so loud that the others at the table could hear. It was something he had never expected out of all the possibilities. "Layla, I mean, Quinn started to stutter his words, he was so surprised. "I thought you had a thing for Erin," Quinn said. "Erin, no, that was different. She was a skillful one like a diamond, but there were no feelings," he replied as he grasped his hands and pulled them in towards his heart. He was trying to make it seem as if this was a painful conversation for him to have. "With Layla, it's true love. I know you two are quite close, and I didn't know whether you liked her either, but the thing is, I don't know how much longer I can stay here, and before I go, I want her to at least know my feelings." Fex then turned around so Quinn couldn't see his face. He wanted to make this as dramatic as possible for him. There was always the chance that Quinn might see through his act. "I know nothing can ever happen between her, you see, and me, but I want her to at least know, and I wanted you to know before I asked her, because you're my blood brother, right?" Suddenly everything was starting to make sense to Quinn. No wonder he had been acting so strangely for the whole day. A confession was always a big deal. With Layla, Quinn didn't feel like he had any special feelings for her. He did feel protective of her, but didn't know whether or not it was beyond a friendship. Even if he did like her, Fex was so passionate right now, he could never deny him this chance. But what did he know was Fex was right. The two of them were blood brothers. "Go ahead," Quinn said. "Make sure you tell her exactly how you feel." After hearing those words, Fex's eyes lit up as he turned back around. "That's great," he said as he started to push Quinn in the direction of the hotel. "Just head home and I'll get the others to do the same. I plan to do it as soon as possible." "You mean now?" "Yes, now, just go," he said as he gave another small shove. With that, Quinn walked back to the hotel room with a little smile on his face. It would be nice if two of his friends became an item, but it was a shame if Fex did have to go back. "Good luck, brother," Quinn thought as he returned to his hotel room. Seeing Quinn walk off like that, the others who were at the coffee table were wondering just what was going on. The two of them seemed to be so dramatic about something and were a little worried that Quinn had disappeared off somewhere. Still, that quickly changed when they saw Fex walking towards them. He didn't have a face of joy or laughter like he did when talking to Quinn. This was the face of business. With his two hands, he swept back his hair and sat down in one of the seats that were placed around the table, and the aura that was coming off him was suffocating them. It quickly reminded them that Fex was not a human, nor was he a human that had been turned into a vampire, but he was a true vampire. Now that Quinn is gone, I have something important to say to you all. I usually joke around, but this time I'm serious. You may have many questions, but I urge you all to listen and hear me out to the end." Fex paused for a moment to see if any one of them wanted to say something there and then, but they all understood it was an important matter and knew to listen in carefully. "Good. The vampires have discovered me, and they know about Peter. They don't know about Quinn yet, but it's only a matter of time. I want to first say this is my fault. They only came because of me, but after finding out about Peter, they can't let him live. To explain quickly, he is something called an illegal. Vampires do not have permission to create others without notifying their leader. Since Quinn created Peter without a leader's permission, Peter is considered illegal. Usually when we discover an illegal, they are executed on the spot. As for the one who created him, they are taken back to the Vampire Council to be judged for their crime. Now, I have no intention of turning Quinn into them. Ever since I got here, he has done so much for me, but they won't leave until I give them the vampire that turned Quinn. With that, I have a plan. Luckily, Peter knows the transformation skill. If we give him disguised as Quinn, that should be able to satisfy them. I will report back saying I have killed the illegal, while also giving them a fake Quinn. Here is where I need your help. There are a few problems with this. Everything needs to be done today. I have told them I would deal with everything. I will be breaking out Peter, and for that, I think, Logan, you will be the best to help me. The second thing might be an even bigger problem. I'm sure we all know if I told Quinn of this plan, he would never agree to sacrifice Peter for himself. Even when I spoke to him earlier, he still thinks there is a way to save Peter. The truth is, this might be the only way to save him. The humans will experiment on him to no end, but the vampires will at least give him a quick death. Giving Peter to them is not enough to fool them. We can smell our kind, and Peter himself is not a vampire, but a subclass of a vampire. If I handed Peter over, they will discover he is a fake in an instant." Out of his pocket, Fex placed the flask on the table and put it in front of Vorden. "During my time here, I have concluded that, Vorden, you are the closest to Quinn. Whatever it takes, you must fill up that flask with his blood, but he mustn't find out about this. I have a suggestion that I think only you could do, and that's to knock Quinn and force the blood from him. He is a curious one. If you try to come up with an excuse, there's a good chance he will follow you, and it will ruin the whole plan. By the time Quinn wakes up, we would have been gone." Fex had finished detailing everything to the others, and they couldn't quite believe it. Both Logan and Vorden had suspected something like this would happen one day. They just didn't expect it to happen in the middle of an event like this. The other thing was, they didn't even have time to prepare. They would have to act immediately. Vorden picked up the flask and placed it in his back pocket. "We have no choice. We have to do this," Vorden said. "But I have one question. Surely sooner or later they will find out that Peter is not the person they are looking for. What happens then? Will they come to look for Quinn again? And what will happen to you once they find out you tricked them?" The serious face on Fex had changed to quite a sad-looking one after hearing this question. It was almost as if he had prepared himself for something. "The vampires are careful ones. It will be a while before they send someone after Quinn. At least this will give him more time. Quinn is special. I know that he gets stronger by the day. As for your second question, that is not for you to worry about and for me to deal with." With everything said and done, and with no time to waste, the group split up and proceeded with the plan. In the middle of Fex's explanation, after hearing and learning that the matter had something to do with Quinn, a particular person had found out that he could be in trouble. In the dark back room of Vorden's mind, Syl had stood up and was interested in what they had to say. Most things seemed uninteresting to him, and with nothing happening so far that relied on Vorden using him, he had remained quiet. He listened carefully while standing by Vorden on his left side, and Rayton was on the right. The explanation had just finished as Fex asked Vorden to gather Quinn's blood. "Well, of course, we're not going to agree to that, right?" Rayton asked. "Hey, I know I'm crazy and I'll fight anything, but do you remember what happened last time? He turned into that bald monster. Sorry, but I'm not fighting in this one." "Rayton, didn't you just say you would fight anything?" Vorden replied, annoyed. "Sorry, I refuse to fight anything that's that ugly with no plus side. At least when fighting a beast, we get a crystal out of it. A human? Well, that's just fun, but that..." After hearing what Rayton had to say, Vorden was concerned and was hesitant whether or not to agree with the plan. Quinn was strong. If it was the Quinn from a few months back, then maybe without Rayton's help and strong ability, he would be able to knock Quinn out and gather some blood. Right now, he would need at least 2 strong abilities to increase his chances. It wasn't just a question of winning such a fight, but being strong enough to overpower Quinn, to the point where he could win without having to badly hurt him. He could always try to find an excuse to ask about the blood, but he couldn't think of anything right now and needed a backup plan in case that didn't work. It looked like Fex's suggestion of beating and knocking him out was the best one. The question was whether he could do it without Rayton's help. "Say, we'll do it," Syl said all of a sudden. This response came as a surprise to Vorden. The whole reason they had gotten close with Quinn in the first place was due to the way Syl saw Quinn. "If we don't do this, the bad people will take Quinn away, right?" Syl asked. It seemed like he had understood more than he thought. Vorden felt bad for underestimating Syl. Maybe he was slowly getting better. His mind returned to what it once was. "Yes, you're right. If we do this, then the bad people won't take Quinn away." With Syl agreeing to help and fight Quinn just in case, they decided to take the job and get the flask. Vorden asked Layla to head back to her hotel room and prepare whatever she thought might help. In her room, there were still a few items she had from Pure that should be able to help block out the cameras around the place. The truth was that Vorden wanted Layla to leave him alone while he made some preparations of his own. He didn't expect her to have some useful things. If there was a chance he was going to fight Quinn, then he needed the strongest powers he could find, and he knew just the place to get them. Inside her hotel room, Layla went under her bed and pulled out what looked like a small metal box. On the front was a keypad, where she proceeded to input the code in her mind. Soon the small metal box was opened, revealing the black ball that was usually in there. This time, though, the black ball looked a little different than before, as a blue flashing light was blinking on the front. This indicated that there had been a message left on it. Placing the blinking black ball on her bed, she chose to ignore it. "No, I am no longer a part of Pure or that life." With her palm facing towards the ball, she started to concentrate. Slowly, components of the black ball were being pulled out piece by piece. They were gradually lifted away from the black ball, and eventually the ball stopped blinking. Inside the box, there were still a few more things inside. She quickly grabbed them and placed them in the pouch around her waist. They were special tools that she had been trained with her whole life, although she hadn't used them that much since it was her first mission and she hadn't been given any tasks. She quickly went to leave the room to meet up with Vorden at their designated spot, but before doing so, she turned around one more time and took a look at the black ball. As she closed the door, she muttered, "Goodbye, Agent 100. Most of the students were still outside enjoying the atmosphere, checking out the stalls and playing all the games. It was busier than the first day because the public had also been invited to check out the place as well. It wasn't too late, and everyone was filled with excitement. However, Vorden was not one of these people. He continuously looked around the area to see if he could find the person he was looking for. Eventually, on his way to his destination, his search had led him back to the block game Quinn had played the other day. There were more people stationed outside, and there was even a large queue. It seemed like the video had made the game go viral. While looking at the line, he could only see students making up the majority of the queue. There were some with high levels on their wristwatch, but he couldn't tell what their abilities were just by looking at them. It was a shame that Berg, one of the Sunshield Fire users, was taking part in the fighting tournament. The strongest students currently in the school were all underneath the arena and were in that event. This meant Vorden only had one choice, but had no idea where to find them. However, it looked like luck hadn't given up on him yet, since the girly-looking man who sat by them today was also by the gaming area. Wasn't he one of the 4 leaders, the leader of the Graylash family? Owen, if I remember correctly? Vorden thought. While Vorden was looking in his direction, the 2 pairs of eyes seemed to catch each other, and the man gave a wink. Owen had left the booth of the game he was watching and decided to walk over towards Vorden. Seeing this, Vorden strangely chose to walk away from the premises, up to the ledge where there were next to no people. "Oh, he wants me to follow him, huh? Well, this should be interesting," Owen thought. Owen decided to play along with whatever games the student had, remembering that both he and the other one had reacted strongly after witnessing the video. He had returned to the gaming area tonight, expecting the student to perhaps return, gaming for he was one in the video. The other students thought of the same thing, but it looked like that wouldn't be happening. All the other students seemed dull after witnessing the video. As soon as the man had come over without saying a word, Vorden had gone in for a quick and unsuspected grab. All he needed to do was get in a single touch, and the powers would be copied. It was truly unexpected. Owen had expected that the student only wanted to talk, but his reactions were far quicker than the boy's. Releasing that Vorden's intent was not to hurt him, he quickly thought that there must have been some other reason for this strange attack. There was no power behind this strike, and it was too sudden in front of too many people. Owen quickly opened up his gown, and from his waist he pulled out a metallic fan. He quickly spread it open and blocked Vorden's fingers from touching him. However, Vorden was persistent and tried again with his other hand, but that too was knocked away. Not knowing Vorden's true intentions, Owen stepped back and initiated a small spark in his right hand. It was out of sight for others to see, since his body was blocking most of it, plus he had purposely made it very small. It was a warning. If Vorden tried to strike again, he wouldn't hesitate to use his powers. I have no choice, Vorden thought. This is for Quinn. The look in Vorden's eyes suddenly changed, even being felt by Owen. He had never felt such a strong presence come from a student before. He thought that he was right to think those kids from before were interesting. Using the fan, he covered the bright smile on his face. Never before had a student made him feel this way. My name is Vorden Blade from the Blade family. Using my name, I request you to stand down. Answer my request and give me your hand. Upon hearing the words spoken by the student, he now knew it was no laughing matter. The smile he had before dropped in an instant, and as quick as the smile had dropped, so did Owen with his request and gave Vorden his hand. Owen wasn't very recognizable to the outside people. Unlike the other family leaders, no one knew what he looked like. Today was the first time the newly appointed head was revealed, and that was only found out to the people in the booth. Sure, there were some like Quinn and his group who had paid attention to who was sitting in those seats, but none knew about the situation. Looking at someone so young, they would have never suspected them of being a leader. The people around outside weren't even paying attention to such a thing that was happening off to the side. They were far too involved in their things or the gaming center that was close by. After learning about Vorden's true name, he had no choice but gave up his hand. The excitement that was felt when following this student now turned into horror. Although his heart was beating rapidly and he was a little scared, there still was a little spark in the back of his mind. I wonder why he needs to borrow my power. His curiosity to find out new and exciting things had always been his downfall. He even felt that his current views were different from the head and those around him. Owen was always interested in the younger generation who was closer to his age. He wanted to know how they felt about the way things were currently run. However, if he was to try to get involved or intervene in a situation like this, it would have possibly been one of the most dangerous things to do. Thank you, Vorden said, letting go of Owen's hand. No matter how interested Owen was, now was not the time to get involved with such a dangerous individual. He took a few steps back and planned to get away, but seeing his actions, Vorden called out to him immediately. Wait, Vorden called out. I want you to take me to where the other leaders are. Hearing this came as a considerable shock to Owen. Was he planning to use their powers too? The Big Four leaders' powers were beyond a level 8 ability. It was to the point where it couldn't be measured. Looking at Vorden, it was clear he was a student, whoever he had trouble with or whoever he needed to deal with. Just his power alone should have been enough. Now the excitement was too much, and he had even forgotten to hide the grin on his face. Maybe the events won't be so boring after all. With no choice, Owen walked, and Vorden followed behind. On the way, they quickly went to one of the stalls to purchase a change of clothing for Vorden. He too was now in a large white gown that was a little too big, as part of the back was dragging along the floor. Is this necessary? He asked. Of course, Owen chuckled as the two of them continued to walk. Eventually, they reached their destination. It was a hotel room that was slightly larger and fancier than the rest, Hotel Number 1. This was where all of the higher-class members that were invited to the event were staying. The rest had to get a train out to other parts of the city and come in early in the morning. Before entering the building, the two of them stopped outside. Do you know how to use my powers? Owen asked. Not everything, but I should be able to do something, Vorden replied as he started to twirl his hand around. Particular elemental abilities were quite similar in use, but reacted differently when being used. An example of this was when gathering water. To gather water and wind, one did the same thing, but water would be a bit harder to control due to its weight and shape of it. When twirling his hand in a circular motion, he tried to imagine the ability as a water one. Suddenly following the palm of his hand, a stream of electricity would follow it. He continued to move his hands in a circular motion, and now a full circle of blue electrical light could be seen. Quick learner as expected, Owen said, impressed. The kids at our school would cry in horror if they found out you could produce something like that on your first try." Owen then opened up two of his fingers and created a connected spark, passing the blue lightning between his thumb to his finger. "This should do. There is no need to perform what you did before." With the quick lesson over, the two of them walked up to the front of the hotel lobby where the guards were stationed. Owen was allowed to pass, but Vorden was stopped. "That kid is with me. He is a member of the Graylash family," Owen said with a wink toward Vorden. He suddenly realized why they had the quick lesson before. Opening up his thumb and his index finger, he had presented to the guards the same trick that Owen had shown moments before. There was no better proof that one was part of the Graylash family other than displaying it with their powers. Usually this wouldn't have been enough, but with one of the Big Four, who was also considered one of the leaders of the current United Earth Alliance. They allowed him to pass. The elevator was taken to one of the top floors, and when they arrived, there were only a few rooms with large doors. These doors all had different decorations on the outside. In the center of the double door going over the parting point was the engraving of the family's crest. No guards, Vorden noticed. This was upon the request of the four themselves. They preferred it this way. Secrecy was a big part of their power, and Vorden knew that better than anyone. Right now they were standing in front of what looked like a large shield with a flame on it. Owen knocked on the door and was quite pleased he would be interacting with Bernie once again. "Those blasted soldiers, I told them not to disturb me. I'm going to have to speak to Owen about this. This treatment is unacceptable." The ramblings of a deep-voiced man could be heard through the doors. It seemed like the man was trying to speak quietly, but he had one of those voices that would be carried and heard throughout no matter what. The doors flew open wide and fast, and in its place was a large, round-bellied man with messy red hair, the trait of the Sunshield family. The instant the doors opened, Bernie's ears started to produce steam at the sight of the man in front of him. "You!" he pointed at Owen. "So it looks like you wanted that fight after all, to come to my room in the middle of the night." He had completely ignored the person standing next to him and continued to focus only on Owen. In case things got ugly, Owen had placed his hand on his metallic fan. Vorden now realized if he was planning to use such a weapon against one of the Big Four, it couldn't have been a regular fan, but a high-class beast weapon instead. "As much as I would like to teach you to not judge a book by its cover, I've come for over reasons," Owen tried to explain, but it seemed like Bernie wasn't listening at all. Flames from both of his forearms were slowly starting to appear upward towards his elbow, and a red-hot tribal pattern was shown on his skin. This was something Vorden hadn't seen when he thought with Berg. Is it part of his soul weapon? Realizing this, there was a chance this fight could get serious, fast. Owen quickly stepped to the side and presented both of his hands at Vorden. "This man is part of the Blade family, and he has asked for our assistance." Hearing the name, Bernie's reaction had immediately changed, just like Owen's. The flames had died down, and the tribal tattoos that went up his arm disappeared as well. Bernie gave the person next to him one look, and knew what he wanted instantly, and presented his hand while looking away, making sure not to make eye contact. "If that's all you came here for, get out of here. I was just about to take a nice hot bath," Bernie said, but now with a lot less anger in his voice, making sure to not offend the person in front of him. Now with two of the strongest powers in the world, Vorden was confident he could deal with Quinn. There was no need for him to get the Graylash's power and inform more people that he was here. His power was to control beasts, and there weren't any around here. Besides, even if there were, it would be too difficult to move and would cause a huge uproar. Then there was only Jack left, the newest addition to the big families. Unlike the other families, it had no history and was only recently created. The others had been going on for generations, even before the war with the Dalki. If Vorden was to ask him for anything, he wasn't even sure he would comply. However, there was another reason. With this much power following through his body, if he was to meet Jack right now, there was a good chance he wouldn't hold back and burn him to a crisp. It might ignite a war, and that wasn't his decision to make. He wasn't the leader of the Blade family, and if they found out he was abusing their name like this, even he could get into trouble. "I don't have to tell you guys that I was never here," Vorden said, "but before I go, I need one more thing. Is there a place or spot I can use where no one will know if I'm using these powers?" Bernie huffed out a puff of hot air before answering. "There is. I often use it to cool down once in a while. They created the room with me in mind, and of course, there are no cameras. Even if they were, everything would have been burnt by now. It's an empty room with nothing inside, and the walls are soundproof. Whatever you're planning to do in there, nobody will be able to tell. It's a place only permitted to be used by us. It was something I had to fight hard for them to make." "Perfect," Vorden replied. The two leaders had scary thoughts in their minds about what possibly could Vorden need the room for, and why did he need the two of their powers, but they didn't ask and only told Vorden where to go.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.